Okay, good evening, all of you. So today I'm going to start the ISLM model. Uh, I'm coming back to macro from mathematical economics. So the ISLM model is basically an extension of the simple Keynesian model. So in the simple Keynesian model, we uh, focus we focus on only one market, which is the commodity or goods market. This model is extended by incorporating two other models so that we have a total of three markets. The first market is obviously the goods market, but in addition to that, we have two other markets, which are the money market and bond market. Uh, Although we have three markets, uh, we will actually consider only two markets. Okay. The reason for this, or the logic underlying why we exclude one market, is the Walras law, which states that if there are n markets, then uh, then the summation of excess demand is always equal to 0. So this means that if we take n minus 1 market, and suppose these n minus 1 markets are all in equilibrium. So if you are in equilibrium, then demand minus supply, which is excess demand, this is equal to 0. So that means in n minus 1 market, I mean, if we just break it up, we have this is equal to 0. Then we have price over here. Okay. So if all the n minus 1 markets are in equilibrium, then this term sums up to 0. It doesn't sum up to 0 actually. What happens is individually all the terms are equal to 0. Therefore, we have dn minus Sn equal to 0, or dn is equal to Sn. So the nth market must also be in equilibrium. So Walras law states that if there are n markets and out of them n minus 1 markets are in equilibrium, then this implies that the nth market is also in equilibrium. So it means in a three commodity case, if if two markets are in equilibrium, then automatically by Walras law, the third market will also be in equilibrium. So therefore, if you have multiple markets, we can drop one of them. By Waller's law, if you can ensure equilibrium in the other two markets, the third market will automatically be in equilibrium. So then the question is, which market should we drop?
Sir, I have a question here.
Yes.
Sir, when we consider here N markets, does it mean N markets in the economy or N markets in the model? Means I can choose any M markets out of these N markets in
No,
economy and use
it,
this
it
Waller's
means
law.
end market in the economy.
Sir, but labor market is also there or other types of market.
Yeah, but over here, just as in the simple Keynesian model, we have assumed that there's only one market. Here we have assumed that there are three markets. So the labor market is ignored over here. When we go to the complete Keynesian model, the labor market will also be brought in. So in that case, we will have the goods market, money market, bonds market, and labor market. So at this point, we are just ignoring the labor market. Okay. So then the question is which market to drop. And over here, this is a result which I'm just stating now, but which I'll show later on. Is the result is that the money and bond markets are mirror images of each other. Okay, so in that case, what we can do is we have to keep the goods market and any of these two, and we keep the money market. The bond market is the mirror image, so it reflects what is happening in the money market. So although we focus on these two markets, if you have equilibrium in the ISLM model, the bond market will automatically be in equilibrium. One. Second is that if you do have disequilibrium, then you can understand. I mean, if you study the money market, you will also be able to understand what is happening in the bond market. On the other hand, if you take the money and bonds market and drop the goods market, if you have equilibrium in these two markets, goods market will also be in equilibrium. But if you are in a disequilibrium position, you won't know what is happening in the goods market. So this is why we drop the bond market. Okay. So I'll come to the reasons or logic why the bond market is a mirror image of the money market later on when I come to the money market itself. Today I'm going to discuss.
So,
Yes,
could you
yes.
repeat why we are dropping bonds market again, like just briefly?
Actually, I haven't explained it now. So I'm just stating, just 1 minute, please. So I haven't really stated why the bond market is a mirror image of the money market. So I'll explain this later on when I come to the LM curve. So at this point, I don't want to address your question. Okay. Okay. So now let's forget about the bond market and money market. So we are back to the goods market, which we had dealt with in the simple Keynesian model. Now, in the simple Keynesian model, aggregate demand was Cy minus T plus I, which is autonomous, and we have government spending. And the aggregate supply is the national income, GDP. Okay. So the important thing over here, the point to note is the nature of the investment curve. I is assumed to be autonomous and that is it is exogenous to the system. So it is a parameter. When we solve the um, when we solve for the equilibrium y, so the solution for y star will be in terms of, among other things, it will be in terms of I or I bar. Okay. So this was the model that we have studied. As you can see, we are still considering a closed economy. The ISLM model can be extended to incorporate an open economy, and this will be covered in the, I think, in your fourth sem by GC. So at this moment, we will assume that the economy is closed, and so that demand is depends upon consumption demand by households, investment demand by private entrepreneurs, and we have government spending. Okay. Now, what is the change that we are incorporating? The change is, as I've told you, in the nature of the investment function. We assume that instead of assuming that investment is autonomous, we make investment an endogenous variable. That is, it is determined, its value is determined within the system. It is not given to, uh, it is not given. Okay. Now, uh, for simplicity, we will assume that it is a linear function. If it is non-linear, it doesn't. Uh, we can also assume that it's non-linear, but in that case, we are going to make the things a little bit more difficult for us. And if we assume that changes are very small, then whether the function is linear or it's non-linear doesn't make a difference. Linearity or non-linearity makes a difference only if you consider large changes. Okay. So anyway, so we have in the investment function, there can be an autonomous part, plus we have a part which depends upon the rate of interest. So this is investment and this is the rate of interest. And let us say we have A over here. Now, what will be the slope of this investment function? Will it be like this or will it be like this? So consider a producer. Okay. So if he wants to increase his productive capacity, okay, so that means he wants to increase investment, uh, have a larger factory, use more machines, maybe employ a more sophisticated technology. Okay, so all these comprises investment. Okay. Now these activities will require funds, right? Now, how does the producer get the necessary funds? These will have to be borrowed. So when you are borrowing them, uh, I mean, why will the person lend to you? Obviously, the question of interest will come in. The producer will borrow, and out of the income that he gets, he pays interest to the lender, to the person who owns the money. So suppose funds are cheap. That is, you have a low rate of interest. In that case, what will the investor do? Will he invest more or will he invest less?
So invest more.
Invest.
So producer invests more. On the other hand, if funds are costly, that is high interest rate, he will investment will fall. So that means we have an, a negative or inverse relation between rate of interest and I. So that means the investment curve, as rate of interest is going up, investment will decline. So this is the P is negative. Or we can also say that I prime R is negative. So is this clear?
Sir, uh, sir, how does the investors invest more at low interest rate? Means what is the reason? Do they see it as an opportunity cost type, or at low interest rate they take more risks?
No, it's simply that what is the cost of investment? See, this investment means funds which you are borrowing from someone. So if your cost is higher, then you are going to demand less.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we are back to the 45-degree line, and this is E equal to, okay. So what happens is that suppose the interest rate is equal to R1. Very crude example. Let's say that the investment function is like this, and let's make this a little bit more. Let us suppose this R1 is 4. Okay. So in that case, the investment function will be, or the value of investment will be 0.5 into 4. So this will be how much? 0.2. This will be 98. Let us suppose that G is equal to 102. And the consumption function, we assume that there are no taxes. So the consumption function is, this is the consumption function. So in that case, what is E? E will be 20 plus 0.4 Y plus, this is I. This is I for rate of interest equal to 4. This is 102. So at equilibrium, we have Y equal to E. So you can solve this. If you solve this, this will be how much? 220 হচ্ছে. So you have 0.6 Y is equal to, uh, let's make this 40. If you make it 40, it will become 240. Y star is 246 by 10, so 400. Y star is 400. Okay.
স্যার 0.6y কি করে হচ্ছে?
এই ওয়াইটাকে এখানে নিয়ে যাচ্ছি রাইট হ্যান্ড সাইডে, মানে 1 মাইনাস 0.4
ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা।
y equal to e, তাই না?
হুম।
Okay, so we get y star equal to 400. So what we have got over here is that if r is equal to 4, then y star is equal to 400, right? So this is a vector. Now suppose your r increases to 8%. So can you rework this problem, please? We have to first put in 8 over here. Put in investment কত হচ্ছে? Eight into 5 is 96.
Sir, 96.
আচ্ছা, এবার সলভ করো। g হচ্ছে 102 আর এটা তো এরকমই রয়েছে। তো ইয়ে 40 প্লাস 0.4y প্লাস এখানে 102 থাকবে, এখানে 96 হচ্ছে। This is 238 by 6 into 10. So how much is it? This will be
Sir, 396.66.
396 or 397 করে দিই। Okay. So basically what has happened is mm, okay.
Sir, 0.5 r is very small to influence y.
Sorry?
Sir, you have taken b as 0.5, sir. Even at
ঠিক
such
আছে,
a
তোমার একটু তো ফল করেছে।
yes, sir.
Okay. So in this way, we can generate other values. This will be something else. I'm not working it out. Let's suppose it is 390. Okay. So I don't know the exact value. It's just assumption. You can check it and put the exact value. So what we have is R is going up like this. We have got 4, 8, and 12. So we have corresponding values of Y. This is 400, 397, and 300. Okay, so 12 and 300 is 1 point, 8 and 397 is another, and this is a third point. So we can connect all these points to get the equilibrium combination of R and Y. So this curve will give us the combination of R and Y, which ensures that the goods market is in equilibrium. Okay. And this curve is called the IS curve. Why it's called an IS curve, I'll discuss in the next class. Uh, in fact, I saw that in Freund and all other books, Mankiw and others, they have followed this approach, and so I'm using it. But if I take a different approach, it's you'll be able to understand why we are calling it the IS curve.
So the shape of the aggregate demand curve won't be affected if I is exogenous in this case.
No, because we are drawing the this aggregate demand curve for a particular value of R. So R is kept constant over here. See, if you look at the axis, you have got aggregate demand, and this is supply, Y. We don't have R on this axis. So that means when you draw the aggregate demand curve, R has to be treated as a constant or parameter.
Okay, so
Okay, so then the question is that we have drawn this curve for R1. Okay, so this curve has been drawn for R is equal to 4, let us say. Suppose R increases to R2. Okay, so R1 is less than R2. So in that case, the aggregate demand will be, see, this part is unchanged. There's no R over here. So this will be unchanged. Yeah. Here, instead of R1, I've got R2. Now, if our rate of interest goes up, what will happen to I?
False.
I falls. So what will, yeah. So what will happen to aggregate demand?
False.
Aggregate demand falls. So what will happen is, in this case, you have E is now equal to, I'm dropping the tax. This is R2. Okay. So we are going to have a parallel downward shift of the aggregate demand curve. And you can see over here that there's a new equilibrium. Y is lower. Okay. So that means for R2, we have Y2. For R1, this is the equilibrium. So this is the Y star value. Okay. Okay. Now let R fall. So let us say that we have R0, which is less than R1. So in that case, if R falls, investment is going to increase, which means that excess demand is also going to go up. So when we are writing this, it is we have R0. So now we have E0 will be less than 1. No, sorry, I've done just the opposite. So E0 is highest, E1 is lower than that, E2 is even lower. So let's say we have, oh, this is the excess demand curve. And you have, this is Y0. Okay. So for a particular rate of interest, we are going to have an aggregate demand curve. But as the rate of interest changes, what will happen is this curve is going to shift up and down. So depending on whether rate of interest is going up If it goes up, then the excess demand curve will come down because private investment demand declines. On the other hand, if the rate of interest falls, then private investment demand will increase and the aggregate demand in the economy is going to go up. Okay, what it shows that for every value of y, you have more demand than in this case. In this case, rate of interest has gone up. So for every value of y, you are going to have less demand. Okay. So we have seen that the IS curve is like this. It's a negatively sloped line. Now there are two issues. Um, the IS curve can be, what is the position of the IS curve? For instance, it can be like this. And the second issue is, what is the slope of the IS curve? So its position is over here, but it's much more steeply sloped. Okay. So there are two issues. One is position, and secondly, we have the slope. Okay. Now, if you go back to the earlier example, we had I is equal to 100. Let us make it a little bit higher. Sorry, it should be minus. Let's call this I1. Okay. Uh, we assume that there's no G. T is also 0. So consumption is simply, let us see, let's make it 2. No. Let's make it 0.8. Okay. So what will be the equilibrium in that case? Or y is equal to, y will be 0.2. This is 110 minus 6R, or y is equal to, So we are getting this equation. Okay. Now plug in different values of R. Let us say R is 5. In that case, what is the value of Y?
400.
Okay. And let us say R increases to 10. What is Y in this case? Sorry?
250.
তাহলে let's draw this. মানে এটা 5 যদি হয় তাহলে 400 হচ্ছে ওকে যাই হোক একটা পজিশন পাচ্ছি ওকে now suppose the autonomous part of investment becomes 200. So that means the investment function is now 200 minus 6R. So that means this equation will be Y equal to, it will be 210 minus 6R by 2 into 10. So just find out these values, please.
Sir, in first case it is 900 and in the second case it is 750.
Sorry, first case কত? দাঁড়া
900
and
750.
ওকে তাহলে তোমার এইটা হচ্ছে R is 10, this is 5. ঠিক আছে এটা কত ছিল? This was 250, this is 400. আচ্ছা for the same R 10, instead of 250, what is it now? It is now 750. আচ্ছা for R equal to 5, it was 400. Now it is 900. Right? So okay. So this is the initial IS curve. This is the new IS curve when autonomous investment component has increased. Okay. So what will happen if the autonomous component, instead of going to 200, suppose the autonomous component becomes 50. What will happen? How will the I1 S1 curve shift?
So it will shift leftwards.
It will shift leftwards.
Leftward.
Yeah. So when the autonomous component of investment decreases, the IS curve shifts leftwards. So the position of the IS curve, I mean, given every other thing, given the value of G, given the value of T and the consumption function, it will depend upon the value of the autonomous investment component. Okay. So the position of the IS curve depends upon value of autonomous investment component. That is, as we have modeled it, it depends upon the value of it depends upon the value of A. So as A increases, the curve will shift rightwards. Okay. So this is drawn for A1, this is drawn for A2. Okay, is this part clear?
Sir, by autonomous we are speaking independent of R, because earlier we were defining autonomous as independent.
Yes, A plus BR. This is the part that we are referring to. So this is the exogenous part, which is constant, which doesn't depend upon R.
And income also.
Yes, income also. Okay. So we have seen that investment depends upon, sorry, it should be actually minus. It's better if we write it as minus, but anyway. So we can see that autonomous component determines position. But apart from the position, the slope is also important. So what do you think will determine the slope of the IS curve? It will be P, the interest elasticity, or responsiveness of investment to interest rate. Okay, so let's just check this again. Uh, First, let me just draw the diagram. Okay, so let us suppose that our investment function a plus yeah. So let us suppose this is 100 and we assume that this is 4. Sorry, it should be minus. Okay, and the consumption function is as before. It is let us say this, it is 10 plus 0.8y. So that means E is equal to 10 plus 0.8y plus 100 minus 4r is equal to y, or y is 0.2y. So 10 plus is 110 minus 4r. It is 2 into 10. So this is the equation of the IS curve. And set r equal to 5. In that case, what is y? And let's make it 10 again. In that case, what is y? Yeah.
Sir, 450.
450 and 350.
450.
So 450 and
350.
okay. So this is the curve that we get. Now suppose the B changes. Let us increase B. So that means if rate of interest changes by 1%, investment changes by a larger amount. So let B be, let us say, 8. So the investment function is now 100 minus 8r, and y is equal to 110 minus 8r into 10 by 2. So now what is the value? Corresponding values?
and 1
50 and
350 and 150.
350 and 150. Okay. So what we see is if it is 10, so if R is 10, sorry, if R is 5, it is 350. So this is 1 point. Achha. So, and if R is 10, we have 150. Okay, so this is 150. Let us see how much does it decline. It declines by 200. So it will be something like this. Okay, so it's not very evident from this picture, but we can solve this easily. Let us say y is equal to, if we divide this by 2, 55 into 10, 550. This will be 8 by 4, which is 4 into 10, 40 R. So what is, oh, এখানে একটা ভুল হয়েছে. This will be y. Sorry, this is y, this is R. Okay, so dy dr is minus 40, or dr dy is minus, okay. In this case, what do we get? This is 550 minus 2 into 20 R. So this will be dr. Okay. So which curve will be steeper? 1 by 20 is কত হচ্ছে? 0.05. And this will be how much? এটা ঠিক আছে তো? Check করো.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So was someone saying anything? Okay. Okay. So in that case, which curve will be steeper?
Sir, first.
So the first curve will be steeper. Let's see.
Sir, but you have drawn parallel.
Okay. So the IS curve will be like this. Okay. So what we get is that as B increases, the IS curve will become flatter. Okay. So therefore, I mean, to sum up, we can see that if you have a investment function which is equal to A minus BR, then the autonomous part will determine the position of the IS curve, while the slope part, this B component, which depends upon um, the relation, which gives the relation between investment and rate of interest, that will determine the slope. Okay. So is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to close by discussing the theory of loanable funds. Okay. So we have said the equation is Cy plus IR plus G. Okay, this was the excess demand function, and we can write this as Y minus Cy minus G is equal to IR. Now, if you look at it carefully, the left hand side represent savings, which is, you can think of the supply of loanable funds which can be invested. Yes.
স্যার লোনেবল ফান্ডস আর এমনি ফান্ডস এর মধ্যে ডিফারেন্স কি?
সেরকম কিছু না, ফান্ডস ইজ ফান্ডস। লোনেবল বলতে আমি বোঝাচ্ছি যে হোয়াট ইজ দ্য অ্যামাউন্ট দ্যাট ইউ ক্যান লোন, গিভ আউট অ্যাজ লোনস। এবার তোমার ইনকাম হচ্ছে 100, তো ইউ কান্ট লেন, ক্যান ইউ লোন আউট দ্য এন্টায়ার অ্যামাউন্ট? সেটা তো পারবে না, তোমাকে কনজামশনটা দেখতে হচ্ছে। ইউ আর কনজিউমিং পার্ট অফ ইয়ার ইনকাম, তারপরে তোমার যে সেভিংসটা হচ্ছে সেটাই তুমি লোন করতে পারছো। ইউ ক্যান লোন ইট টু সামওয়ান। The right hand side, on the other hand,
গভর্নমেন্ট এক্সপেন্ডিচার কেন আসছে
কোথায়?
এই
আচ্ছা, যেটা
লেফট
হচ্ছে যে হোয়াইটটা হচ্ছে তো তোমার এগ্রিগেট ইনকাম, এগ্রিগেট প্রোডাকশন, তাই না? তো হোয়াট ইজ দ্য সাপ্লাই অফ ফান্ডস টু দ্য প্রাইভেট সেক্টর? হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ম্যাক্সিমাম অ্যামাউন্ট দ্যাট ইউ ক্যান লেন্ড টু দ্য প্রাইভেট সেক্টর? একটা হচ্ছে যে তোমার ইনকাম থেকে কনজামশন যাবে, তারপর কনজামশন গভর্নমেন্ট স্পেন্ডিংও তো বাদ দিতে হবে, তাই না? If you want the supply of loanable funds to the private and public sector, তাহলে তোমার IR plus G করতে পারো। So right hand side you can say is the demand for loanable funds, which is simply investment. So you want to invest, that is why you require funds. On the other hand, there are other people who are willing to give you funds. How much funds they have will depend upon how much they are, how much is consumed and how much the government is spending. So this is a market for funds, right? So what is the quantity over here? The quantity is investment, the amount of funds. Okay. And what will be the price?
Sir, interest.
So the price is interest rate. And just as in any other market, suppose you have excess demand. Your demand is more than supply. What will you do?
R goes up.
R will go up, price will go up. On the other hand, if you have excess supply, R will come down. So the fluctuations in R, rate of interest, will occur in response to excess demand or excess supply in the funds market. Okay. And ultimately there will be a time when you have equilibrium. Equilibrium. So the market clears. Okay. Uh, just give me 1 sec, please. Okay. Now, if you look into the in the left hand side, uh, what does supply depend upon? Supply of funds depends upon what?
So income.
Sir, interest.
It depends upon Y. If you look on the right hand side, the demand for funds depends upon
Interest rate.
Interest rate.
interest rate. Okay. So
Sir,
what
but
happens?
logically, supply should also depend on R. Means how much I'm willing to save should depend on it.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is true, but uh, uh, see, if you think about it carefully, ultimately the equilibrium is determined by both Y and R. But the way that we have conceptualized this, what we are seeing is that given R, the supply of funds will depend upon Y, the value of Y. Okay, but as you will see, both Y and R determines the demand and supply. Okay, so demand depends on Y and R. Okay, so suppose for a given value of Y, we have a certain level of supply, right? Sorry, just okay. So how will the supply of funds look like? It doesn't depend upon R, so it will be curved slide. It will be a vertical line, which depends upon the value of Y, right? Now the investment curve is like this. Okay, so that means if you have a particular value of Y, then the market will clear at this point, right? So suppose your income is Y1. This is the savings, supply of funds, demand equal to supply at this point. So the corresponding rate of interest is R1. If your income increases, then you have a new equilibrium. You have a new equilibrium over here, R2. So what happens is Y1, R1, Y2, R2. And we can think of other values of Y. So basically what is happening is for a particular value of income, you have a supply curve, which is independent of rate of interest. At this point, the rate of interest will change until the market clears. That is, demand is equal to supply. So if the market is somewhere over here, we have excess demand. Sorry, we have excess supply. This is the demand, this is the supply. If this is the rate of interest, this is the supply, this is demand. So we have excess demand. So there will be fluctuations in the rate of interest until we come to this intersection when the market clears. So that means if income is Y1, the market for loanable funds will settle at R1. If the income is Y2, then the market for loanable funds will settle at this point. This is the new equilibrium with the rate of interest is lower. So again, what we are getting is we are getting a combination of Y and R. as a result of which keeps the loanable funds market in equilibrium. Okay. So this combination of R and Y can be used to generate the IS curve.
স্যার এই
Sorry,
লোনেবল ফান্ডস ইন ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম ব্যাপারটা আরেকবার একটু রিপিট করবেন?
দাঁড়াও।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে।
Sorry, this is IS curve হলে this will be R, this will be Y. Okay. Okay. What we are saying over here is that instead of thinking, see, previously what we had done was we had looked at the goods market. Goods market দিয়ে আমরা বলছিলাম যে what is demand at what point? Demand is equal to supply. We have just changed the form of the investment function. Now we are deriving the IS curve in a slightly different way. We are interpreting the IS curve differently. What we are seeing is that instead of looking at it from the goods market point of view, we can look at it from the point of view of the loanable funds market. So we start from the equilibrium condition, y equal to c plus I plus g, and we find out what is the supply of loanable funds. This is savings. So instead of looking at the demand equal to supply equation or condition, we are looking at the other condition for goods market equilibrium, which is saving is equal to investment. Okay. Now in the left hand side, you have savings. So this is the supply of loanable funds. The right hand side is the demand for loanable funds, which is investment. So in this market, we have to determine how much funds will be loaned and what is the price, that is the interest rate. Okay. Now, if you look at the left hand side, savings is a function of income. Keynes assumed that it doesn't depend upon rate of interest. It solely depends upon income. Now, if you look in this graph, you only have rate of interest over here. Okay, you don't have income. So that means if you draw the savings curve, it is independent of rate of interest. It depends only upon y1. So if you are given a value of y1, you are going to have a vertical line. y1 টা যদি change করে, this curve will shift. If y1 increases, income increases, you can save more. So the supply of funds will increase. If income falls, you can save less. The supply of funds will decrease. You will have a line like this. Okay. So this is the supply curve, the supply of funds. The investment curve is the demand curve. And this depends upon the rate of interest. So as we have seen before, it's a negatively sloped function. So the demand curve is like this. Right. Okay. Now you have a demand curve, you have a supply curve. So where will the equilibrium be? It will be at the intersection when demand is equal to supply, which means demand is investment, supply is savings. When savings is equal to investment, right? Or when the supply of funds is equal to demand for funds. So this will give me the Y1. This I already have. But what I get is the corresponding R1. So given Y1, we can now find out the R1, which will ensure that the loanable funds market is in equilibrium. So I get a combination of Y1, R1. If my Y1 increases, the supply of funds goes up. I get another vertical line. And now the intersection is at this point. Because supply has gone up, rate of interest will fall. It's logical. So you have a higher Y but a lower R. So Y goes up, R comes down. You have a negative relation between income and R. So if we draw this, we get the IS curve. Okay. Okay, is it clear?
Sir, আমার একটা question ছিল, how is the demand for loanable funds the same thing as investment?
ফান্ডসটা কে চাইছে?
মানে ফান্ডসটা তো প্রাইভেট সেক্টরে দেওয়া হচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, প্রাইভেট সেক্টর মানেই তো ইনভেস্টমেন্ট হলো।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা।
Sir, x-axis, on the x-axis, what is this I dot S, sir?
I, S.
Oh, okay, sir.
So you have investment or savings over here. So these are the quantities. If you think of in terms of micro, this is the price, this is the quantity axis. So I is the quantity demanded, S is the quantity supplied. So now do you understand why we are calling this curve IS curve? Because it indicates the combination of R and Y, which ensures that investment is equal to savings. Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, so the only importance of this loanable funds market is to equate I and S, means it is
No,
like
this
the
is a
mirror
different
image.
type of interpretation. You will get the same IS curve, but it's a different type of interpretation of how we are getting the IS curve. In the first case, it's the demand and supply of commodities. Here, it is investment equal to savings. So it's the market for loanable for funds, you can say. I mean, what you have is in the commodity market, you have two equilibrium conditions in the simple Keynesian model. This was one, and this was another. So the first approach corresponds to this. The IS curve was derived using this condition. The loanable funds uses this condition to derive the IS curve. That is the only difference. Okay?
Yes, I got it.
স্যার
হুম
স্যার বলছি আই এর সিলেবাসটা কি হবে একটু বলবেন?
I can do two things. আচ্ছা, যেটা হচ্ছে যে ম্যাট্রিক্স অ্যালজেব্রা পার্টটা থাকছে না। We have decided not to keep it because it will lead to confusion. So in that case, the IS syllabus will be up till what I have taught today. আজকে অবধি আমি নেক্সট উইকে যেটা পড়াবো সেইটা আয়ের কোর্সে থাকবে না।
So, sir, simple Keynesian model and today's
Simple
part.
Keynesian model and the IS market. IS good. That will be the course. But the matrix algebra part will not be in your IA. I mean, we felt that it will. I mean, one possibility is that I can take the micro and mathico at the same time, but I think we felt that it would lead to confusion. So it's better if we keep both the exams separately. However, if you want, I can keep matrix and drop this IS part,
No, sir.
but I think it's better not to do it. Okay, any other question?